older females become increasingly related to everyone else. Similar to humans, sharing genes with one's relatives is never good for the cognitive abilities of weaker offspring. When it's clear that a female orca shares too many genes with other pod affiliates, she's grannies them. As now it's in everyone's best interest that she support, guide and teach all the children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. 3. Orcas evolve as humans do. There are no known animal species to evolve based on culture, except for orcas. According to a recent study, the genes of different orca pods were analysed to show clear distinctions in genes which coincided with distinctions in culture. A special team set out to compare the genomes of 2 separate cultures of orcas in the Pacific Ocean, as well as 3 cultures in the Antarctic Ocean. To the surprise of the group, the genomes fell into 5 different groups, which perfectly coincided with the cultural distinctions in each. Since only humans are known to evolve based on their culture, this can lend a major breakthrough for the scientific world. To put it simply, it's difficult for distinct groups of orcas to interact with other groups. They don't merely mingle as one might expect. Rather, orcas of varying region hunt for different kinds of prey, utilize different techniques and survival skills, and even produce different languages. Since orcas rarely breed with members of another demographic, the chances of maintaining the distinct genomes is that much higher. 2. The gang gets invincible. Remarkably, orcas don't have any predators. They are at the very top of the food chain and are therefore considered apex predators. Since orcas are among some of the largest and most powerful creatures in the deep blue, no other animal is able to challenge them. Not even the mammoth-sized blue whale, and not even the rapacious great white shark. Now that's impressive. 1. Deadly by association. There's only been one report of a wild orca lashing out at a human on the water, and defendants of the species maintain it was a case of mistaken identity, as the victim was a surfer. Theories suggest the wetsuits actually protect swimmers from any unwanted orca offense. The material stabilizes invisibility against the animal's solar abilities, thanks to the insulating nitrogen bubbles that make up the suit. In captivity, however, orcas have been known to behave very differently, as several attacks on humans have occurred in zoos and aquariums since the 60s. A killer whale called Tilly, one famous Shamu impersonator for over 25 years at SeaWorld, killed 3 different people on separate occasions. There is much controversy as to why this happened, circulating back to heartbreaking living conditions, horrible treatment, and as poor captivity and the detriment of one's well-being could cause any animal to snap. The renowned documentary, Blackfish, highlights the infamous Tilly as the film uncovers problems with the sea park industry, humans' treatment of nature, and the high intelligence of these remarkable animals.
Well, that's where they differ one by
should be allowed in captivity? Why or why not? Let us know your opinion in the comments section below. And thanks for watching What Lurks Below.
So, yesterday, just trolling around on Twitter, as per our usual arrangement, and I came across this insane display from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And it really does speak to our bizarre cultural moment, because the fact is that the new anti-racist movement, the sort of Ibram Kendi, Robin DiAngelo anti-racism movement that has become so popular on the left, that has really overwhelmed the old version of what racism was. Racism used to be defined, as we've been talking about, as you believe in the supremacy or inferiority of a group based on characteristics they cannot control, like skin color. This was defined as white supremacy or as racism, depending on who was being the racist and who was being the victim. Well, that has now been changed to the entire system is racist, and if you are complicit in any system that produces inequality, then you are part of the problem and you are a racist, and to be anti-racist, you have to fight the system. Well, this sort of idea has now been promulgated with your taxpayer dollars at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, a project of the Smithsonian Institution. And I want to go through the display that they put forth, because not only is it hideous and horrifying, It's overtly racist against black Americans. I mean, that is what it is. It's incredible. It's incredible. Like, you cannot distinguish the verbiage on this poster from anything David Duke would say. It's impossible to actually tell the difference. Because in the end, what it suggests is that all of the hallmarks that make a person or culture or a civilization successful are white things. And David Duke would say this in order to tout white people. The National Museum of African American History and Culture is saying this in order to downgrade the quote-unquote standards of success. And this has real ramifications, because when we look at the problems in American society, we look at problems like police brutality. The answer, that is the goal of politics, is solution making. But our politics these days has become more about... Well, politics is supposed to be all about the latter, right? It's all supposed to be about solutions. Country. And this is what my new book is about, How to Destroy America in 3 Easy Steps, out next Tuesday. Sponsored, National Museum of African American History and Culture. Aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. This is a full poster. White dominant culture, or whiteness, refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we all have internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. So in other words, if you're a black person and you believe in any of the following list, we're going to get to in a second, any of the following principles, if you're black and you believe this, it's because on the inside you're white. You've now turned into an Oreo, right? That is this is what this is saying. It is saying that if you have internalized any of the things I'm about to explain to you, then it is because you have now internalized whiteness. You have now suffered from assimilationism, as Ibram Kendi suggests in How to Be an Anti-Racist. And here are some of the things that are associated with whiteness and white-dominant culture. And these are some of the things. And again, I challenge you to tell me how this is anything different from what David Duke would say, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK. Rugged individualism is about white-dominant culture or whiteness. The individual as the primary unit